Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantelle, your hostess with the mostest awesome guests and viewers. I definitely claim that title. Welcome to everybody in the chats. Really wonderful to see you here again. And I know we broadcast all over the world. So for those of you up in the middle of the night or middle of the day, welcome. Really good to have you all here. And wenches with wrenches, I'm glad to see you all in the chats with your wrenches. We probably might need them today, actually. Let's see. I have with me in the background the beautiful Juliette Rose Bryant, South African ex-model who was zapped off to Epstein Island a few years back. Spent, I think, she said 3 months or so there, being his slave, basically. Has some very interesting stories to tell us. Took some pictures herself while she was there. And interesting at this time as well that we hear there's apparently no Epstein list. I smell something not so nice. However, let's see what Juliet says. But before she does, just one or two announcements. We are Tuesday today, Wednesday, of course, Double Trouble with Jessie tomorrow, the usual Jessie the Boater. We're going to be talking about, we've got 2 shows. One show, we're talking about poltergeists, that's sort of those dark, dodgy creature of the nighty energies. And we're going to be doing, we decoding Madonna as well, actually. Last week we did the Catholic Church, and we're always on at the Catholic Church. Madonna is definitely, in my opinion, grooming from the Catholic Church. Interesting. So we're going to be doing Madonna, and we're going to be talking about poltergeists and things tomorrow on JC's show. Then, of course, Thursday, Dr. Dennis won't be here, but Samantha Plested will, a beautiful transsexual woman I did an interview with a couple of weeks back. She'll be answering our questions on Q&A, so please join us for that. And then, of course, on Friday, our usual on Rumble. Catch us on Rumble in the jungle, because we've been whacked for doing a commentary on the Hitler documentary. So catch us on Rumble for that. Welcome, everybody, once again. Really happy to have you. And without any further ado, ta-da. The lovely Juliette Bryant. Juliette, welcome. How are you? So good to have you with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. And thank you to everyone for listening and for caring, because, as we know, there's been a lot going on with this Epstein story, and it's been very, very frightening with them hiding things like this from us. But sorry, let me not jump in with all that. But thank you for having me on your show, Shanti. I'm really honored.
No, the pleasure is all mine, and I'm so glad that you're speaking to us, because I know this whole, Epstein for a while died down, and then suddenly all sorts of stuff came up again. Let me not use the word died and throw that around too freely, because none of us really know what's happened with him, do we? But before we go there, I would just like to maybe introduce you to our viewers. You're a newbie on our show. We've got a wonderful bunch of people on Era that will love you and support you through your testimony. And I'm very appreciative that you are here as well. So, you and I have had a few chats off air, which have been very enlightening. And basically, your story starts when you were discovered you were a new model in Cape Town, the age of 17, and you were discovered by 14.
They tried to take me when I was 14, actually, but my mother wouldn't let me do modeling. That's how disgusting these creatures are. They come for people when they're really young. Sorry to jump in there, Shanti, but I was scouted at Green. Green Market Square by Elite Model Management when I was 14. I've got a newspaper clipping from 1997 to prove this. But they took me when I was 20. But they did try earlier. Sorry, I'm so sorry to jump in like that.
No, please don't be sorry. I'm actually going to hand over to you and just ask us to share your story. Like you were a new model girl in Cape Town, and from what I understand, just to give some an outline, you weren't born into a sadistic or an abusive family or anything. You're not part of a cult family or satanic ritual abuse or anything like that.
No. My parents never. I was never abused by my parents. Oh my gosh. Out of here. Sorry. Ollie, help. Sorry. Sorry, some people are not allowed on camera. Love you, Kai. Thank you so much, Ollie. You're a star. Sorry, everyone. My little boy's got autism, so he sort of does his own thing, but he's the most amazing little angel. So sorry for that. He's not allowed to be on TV.
No, don't be sorry.
He wants to be on TV,
yeah,
don't
absolutely.
you worry. But he's not allowed to until he's old enough to make that decision. But sorry, Shanti. So yeah, what happened is they scouted me like when I was 14. Sorry, I got distracted now with little monkey running in it.
No worries, babe. Take a breath. You're good. Yeah.
Shanti. But yeah, they scouted me when I was, was that the question where you're asking the whole story from how it started from the beginning, right?
Yeah, just how did Epstein get hold of you? I know that you were, yeah.
It was a satanic family. And my parents were never, I was never abused by my parents ever. But my parents did get divorced when I was young. There was a lot of fighting in the home. A lot of people have that. So it's not like I had a perfect, dreamy childhood at all. Like, I mean, who does? Anyone that does, lucky them. But my father's father did work for NASA. But he actually died 1 hour before I was born, which is also very weird. His name was Harry Bryant. So I never met him, obviously, because he died 1 hour before I was born, which is like, it's a very weird time to suddenly die, like as someone, it was just like, it was very strange, all of that. And apparently he wasn't a very nice man. I don't know a lot about him, but I do know that he's apparently not a very nice man. Because, my father's family all lived now, and yeah, my father grew up in Germany after World War II. My father's father apparently was working for the military, and he was sent there to suppress the Germans after the war. So my father went to like 9 schools, apparently. It's not apparent, it's true, because that's what my family have told me. But because my parents got divorced when I was 8, and my dad's an amazing man who just works very hard. He's obviously, I think my dad, I know my father was traumatized by that man. So as far as satanic families and stuff, yes, I would say that my father's father is a bad person. I never met him, thank goodness. But I know what you're saying, how these, that's also why I've wondered if I suddenly realized, like, is this something to do with me being taken by Epstein? Since Epstein worked with the CIA, is it connected somehow? But strangely enough, I think it's more connected to my mother's family than my father's family.
Any reason that they would be going after you more for your mom's bloodline that you know of?
Well, I've done a bit of family history, and my great-grandfather's brother was apparently Terence McSwiney. And he fought for Ireland. He went on a strike where he wouldn't eat for 75 days unless the people were looked after, and he died for the people. And then you see what happened is my family, I think, fled to Africa at that time. They were going to go to America, but someone told the guy one night, don't go to America, go to Africa. So he just suddenly changed his route, and they came here. And, my granny's aunt was sent to Robben Island and never seen again. And also my granny's grandfather, my granny's aunt's father, went missing, when they came to Africa.
Why did you, hang on? let's reverse a little bit. Your grandmother's aunt went to Robben Island for what? What was she? What did she do
They
there?
say she was ill. Like, I don't know the full story, but they say, like, I don't know if it was like what kind of illness, but I know they used to send people there for if they had like leprosy or if people had mental illness.
Right.
Well, so-called mental illness, let's call it that. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's kind of creepy that she was sent there and she never
It's
returned.
just,
You know, with Nelson Mandela, he came back from there. My granny's aunt was sent there when she was 20 years old, and she was never seen again.
I just want to clarify for our viewers about Robben Island. Many of you might know, but that was the prison island on which famously Nelson Mandela was kept prisoner. But and it's interesting what Juliet is saying now, because it actually wasn't always about that. It was definitely the island where people were sent to be ostracized. So whether, as you say, for mental issues or leprosy and stuff like that. So wow, that's actually interesting, because you're saying then that your great aunt was actually sent to Robben Island because she had leprosy. What did she have, did you say? Did she have mental illness?
I don't know
Exile Island, yeah.
exactly. You know, we don't know the full story, but actually, funny enough, I've met I know an amazing woman who was a neighbor of mine at my past house, and we started talking one day, and her great grandmother or her grandmother was a doctor on Robben Island, and she holds all the records. She's got them. She inherited all the records. So I should actually, she said, if I want to go through the records with her, I can. So I think I must go through the records and find out, because, you know, a lot of history is hidden, but fortunately here the history's been kept, and she just so happened to be my neighbor. So, you know, the world's a small place after all, especially in a place like Cape Town. So I must go through.
I definitely think we need to know what's in those records. We definitely need to know what's in those records. Can you check it out for us, please?
Yeah, no, you're right.
And then come spill the tea on Ara. It comes spill all that tea. I'd love to know about the records of Robben Island.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that'd be interesting.
I would love to see
Wow. Yeah.
of what happened.
Okay.
You know, they've lied about.
Yeah, they lie all the time. It's interesting though, because, you know, this to me, just from what you're saying so far, I don't believe in these types of coincidences. You know, we've interviewed too many survivors on this channel to know that these things are not coincidental. And we also know they've probably, you know, with a lot of people, they actually literally track them from birth, but they'll only like take them in or kidnap them or whatever it might be at a certain age, or then start working with them. So I'm wondering, and it's true, someone was actually saying, I'd love to be very interested to actually ask Jessie about that, because if anyone would know about that, more than likely Jessie would be the person. So it would be an interesting one to ask her about that as well. Wow. Okay, so anything else just about your family or anything like that?
Well,
you're basically saying from your dad's side.
Yeah, but also on my mum's side, I know I've mentioned before, and you know, apparently my grandmother's father might have been King Edward, and I don't know that, but that's what's been told in my family. But like no one else, we haven't, like, my mum only told me this once. My granny told my mum once when my granny was very drunk, and my granny's mother told her her aunt told her on her deathbed that her father might have been King Edward. And I mean, I don't know if that's true at all, but the thing is, I did more research into it, and King Edward was in Cape Town from, I think, 1918 to 1936 as a chancellor of the University of Cape Town. And also my looked like very like the Queen. Yeah. And you know, there are a few other things that sort of made me think that maybe, and also my granny grew up without a father in Zimbabwe with a single mum. My granny was born in 1927. It was very rare for a single woman to be in Zimbabwe with a child on their own in those times. You know, as we know, women were only allowed to buy property in 1920. Sorry, I've got flu, so my nose is running a bit. Women were only allowed to vote in 1920, right? They were only allowed to buy property then. So, I mean, it's very strange that my great-grandmother, the money was always sent from my granny, and there was just something weird going on with all of that. I mean, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know the truth, but I do know of the stories that have been passed on, but quietly, because I think King Edward was actually a good man. You know, I think he was a good king. It's much like the Lion King, that, you know, the movie The Lion King, where the good king gets killed and then the bad king takes over, the brother. Because, you know, King Edward was meant to be king, and then the brother George took over, and that's Queen Elizabeth, you know, William and Harry's grandmother. That's her father. So they weren't actually the rightful heirs. The rightful heir apparently never had children, but there are other stories where he might have had children, like in France and England and in Australia. I've read stories of people that could have been secret love children of King Edward, you know, because they tried to kill him when he became king in 1936. They tried to shoot him. Well, so he had to leave. Luckily, a woman saved him, because she saw the man with the gun, and she pushed the gun, and then the angle was wrong, so it didn't kill him. But then he realized he had to get out of there, and he married that woman Wallace Simpson, who looks like a man, really. Sorry, but you know, and then he left and went to America, never really went back to England. So there's definitely, you know, then there are also pictures of him with Hitler, and they try to almost make it out like he was involved with Hitler. Or, you know, some people are actually saying nowadays that, like, maybe Hitler wasn't so bad, you know, because the way the media lies, we don't know at the end of the day. Like, they can just, like, you know, with the Epstein story, look how they've lied to us about the Epstein story. And where are all the victims? You know, victims aren't able to speak out. Like, they won't interview me, the media. They just won't. So, you know, and that's why, you know, 200 victims claimed from the fund, but where are the victims? And people want to blame the victims. They want to say, oh, these girls were made to have sex with the government and the politicians. And that's not true, because I didn't see, well, I mean, as far as my story goes, that's not true. I didn't see any girls being trafficked to politicians or anything. They've completely lied about it. I was never trafficked to anyone other than Epstein when I was taken there. There's a lot more going on, and they're trying to cover it up. They've labeled it as sex trafficking. The whole way they opened it up as sex trafficking is because Virginia Gifford, God bless her soul, I mean, it's horrific. We were waiting for the list, instead the main victims found dead. You know, Virginia Gifford and Sarah Ransom both said that they were made to have sex with Alan Dershowitz, and that's how they opened it up as a sex trafficking case. But nothing ever actually came from those claims. I mean, from, you know, there was no lawsuit, and Virginia retracted her claims on that. So it was weird, because at the end of the day, like they say, Ghislaine Maxwell's gone to prison for trafficking who to who. She was obviously part of the organization, but the organization goes a lot deeper than what they're trying to tell people. They're trying to make it out like these girls have been paid off and stuff, and it's not true, you know, because all the girls that I know, I don't know anyone who's got like more than like, obviously $1 million is an amazing amount to get on a settlement. But the thing is, they gave, you know, like $300 million, and I think a lot of the girls got a lot less because they didn't have evidence. And I don't know, I don't think there are as many victims as what they're saying. I think a lot of people have been screwed over here, and a lot of the money's been stolen. You know, and I'm jumping from King Edward and Hitler and everything to that, but I'm just telling everyone how the media lies. So my dog's scratching on the door. I'm going to leave them there. Because they're rascals.
All good. If they want to come in to join us, they're welcome. They really are. But wow, okay, that you see right there would tell me they have good reason. They've clearly been tracking you, following you over the years, because they would have obviously known that you have bloodlines, and that to me would become more apparent later. But before we get there, I want to then just speak about when you were 17 and they try to, elite models try to
when I was 14.
What are they?
Elite model. Yeah, they
14.
found me. Yeah, Green Market Square.
Yeah.
I was with a friend, and they approached me and they asked me to go for a modeling casting. You know, and it seemed legitimate and all. And but my mum came along with me with her friend, and they said like, no, they weren't. My mum said, no, I'm not allowed to travel or work while I'm so young because I'm doing school. So then they sort of like backed off. They could see that they weren't going to be able to. But you see, for some other people, like luckily, like my father paid for us to be educated, and we had food. But like, what about for other people who don't have the money for food and education? They're a lot more likely to go off and think, wow, I'm going to make everything happen for my family. And it happens to a lot of models. Like even, like that beautiful girl, Shelby Dean, who she did that movie, The Triangle of Sadness, and she was found dead. Like, well, she died like just before it was released. It makes me so angry because she was such a beautiful girl, and they put her into modeling when she was young. The family trying to and she did very well, but she died when she was 30. Like, I find it very suspicious how she died. And I know a lot of other girls also who've been taken overseas as young people, and a lot of people, young girls who are taken overseas alone, they don't come back okay. Like, I was taken there when I was 20. I didn't come back okay because predators come for young, innocent girls. And if you don't have a guardian or a parent around you, it's very, very dangerous, for a young person to be traveling alone.
I was interviewing another ex-model a couple of weeks back, Ali, who also she wasn't involved with Epstein, but had this relationship with this warlock guy who drew her in lots of addictions and things that followed. She's also shared her testimony not too long ago. But it would be interesting to have you and Ali on actually at the same time to talk about those experiences. So it'd be good. We can chat about that at some point.
A lot of the things will match up, and also what you were saying earlier with the bloodlines, I only came across all of that when I started doing more research after they gave me settlement money and I had time to get off the hamster wheel of life, because I've got an online store. I used to work for Sotheby's selling property. I've done many jobs. I used to be a waitress. I've done all sorts of jobs along the way. But luckily, when I got the settlement money, I had time to do more research, and do you know how I found out about the bloodlines? I was looking at the painting, The Birth of Venus, and I was analyzing it. And I thought, how was Venus born as an adult on a shell? And how was, they say her mother was Earth and her father was the sky. I need to, Gaia, Mother Earth, and this. I need to check all my research from back in the day. But what I suddenly realized is, oh my God, it's genetic interbreeding. And I realized it without even finding out about the bloodline. I mean, it was just weird how it like sort of clicked, because I went down the rabbit hole with all of this research, after seeing him shapeshift and all of this, a lot of weird things happened there that are unexplainable. So I had time to sort of try to myself. Yes, Shanti.
I'm just going to say, I know there's a lot that happened, but I still want you to take us back to the day you met him. So let's go back to the day you were, no worries. You were spotted by Epstein. And I guess.
Okay, so what happened there is when I was 20, I was studying psychology and philosophy. And then I needed to work on the side, sort of, fund my studies and everything. So I started doing modeling because I got scouted a few times. I also won. Oh, yeah, you're right. When I was 16, I won a competition with Storm Model Management. So they got me a portfolio and everything. But anyway, what happened is when I was 20, I went out with a friend of mine to Osaka on Kloof Street. And a girl approached us and she said, oh, some man's bothering me. Can you please help me? So we were like, oh, of course, as young girls, we wanted to sort of look out for another girl. So, and then no man ever approached. She was obviously lying. Because then she said to me, oh, her friend Jeffrey Epstein is here from America and he's best friends with Bill Clinton and Leslie Wexner, who owns Victoria's Secret. And he's here with Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker. And do I want to meet them? So obviously I was just like, oh my God, I was starstruck, being like a 20-year-old. And I just thought, oh my God, of course I want to meet these people. because I really wanted to get ahead with my modeling and try like make things better for my family and everything. So we went across to the restaurant. They were having dinner at Beluga, which is like about 10-minute drive from there. And we walked in, and they all stood up while they're having dinner, and they were actually really there. It was like, whoa. Like Bill Clinton, they all stood up while they were eating dinner and shook my hand. And then we spent about 10 minutes there or something, just like meeting them. And then we left. And then the next day, the same girl.
While we're there, sorry, while we're on the night that you met Bill Clinton, I was actually listening to one of your previous interviews, and that was actually a very, very interesting meeting, because what you actually said was when Bill Clinton shook your hand, he shook your hand and he actually would not let it go. He was holding your hand, speaking to others around him for a minute or two, and all the while he held onto your hand.
He started talking to someone like this and just ignored me. And he carried on talking for like at least a minute. And then he looked back and said, "Nice to meet you." After clutching onto my hand, it was very creepy, because I was just standing there. I was like, like, whoa, what do you do? I couldn't like grab my hand back or be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" It was the first time I'd ever met anyone famous in my life. And it just so happened to be the president of America. Well, he was the ex-president by then, it was 2002. I think he stopped being president of America in 2001. But it was 2002 when I met them, very soon after 9/11, actually exactly a year after.
Wow. So that night at the meeting was Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, Les Wexner.
I never met Wexner. No, it was Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton, Epstein, and Chris Tucker. And then there were like 4 government officials from Africa, but I wasn't introduced to any of them. They didn't stand up and shake my hand. They were just sort of sitting there.
Did you recognize them? Did you recognize any of the government officials?
No, because I don't really watch news a lot. Like my mum never wanted us to watch a lot of news. My mum always taught us that the news lies, and my mum's quite right.
Interesting. So you had the meeting, and then what happened then? So you were literally there a few minutes, and what happened after that?
The next day, Naja Hill, who actually became a Fox News reporter after this, she called me and she said that that Epstein thought I had a lot of potential for Victoria's Secret, and she said, "Will I bring my modeling book for a casting?" But before the casting, Bill Clinton's going to go do a speech at a university in Cape Town, and do I want to join? So, of course, I said, yeah, of course, I'd love to come watch the speech, being young. And so I went there to the Cape Grace Hotel by the waterfront. And then they had like 2 minibuses taking them, and like the speech writer and the whole crew. So I wasn't in the bus with them. I was in another bus with the speech writer and like some of the other people working on the project for this so-called talk. And then they drove us along the highway, and it was crazy. Like the whole highway was shut off for them. And like at every ramp, there was like police cars waiting and motorbikes waiting, and like police motorbikes. We were just like followed by an entourage of at least 50 vehicles, like police vehicles, like all the way there. The whole highway, the whole Deval Drive was literally shut off. Anyway, so then we got there, and it was the Western Cape Technicon, like a lower income university. And Clinton gave a speech. It was a very sort of, he didn't really say much. It was like sort of, I don't understand why he was giving the speech. It was a very basic hall, he stood on a small like podium in the front. And during that time, Kevin Spacey was sitting in front of me, and he had a handheld device, and he was just going like this, like just filming everyone, because I was sitting directly behind him. So he obviously filmed me too. He was just filming everyone, like around the hall, because the hall was full of students, in the back, behind the chairs. And I didn't realize, like at the time, I just thought he was like sort of helping with the Clinton Foundation and filming it to raise funds, I was naive, but obviously years later, I'm realizing that they were filming it for far different reasons. And then after that, we went back to the hotel and I showed Epstein my modeling portfolio. Well, first of all, they had a whole casting stage. They had 3 women sitting on like a table pretending they were doing a casting. It looked like any other casting I'd ever gone to. And they said that the casting was for Karen models. It was Sarah Kellen, Andrea Metrovich, and another girl called Cindy Lopez. And they looked through my modeling book and then they said, right, you can go through and see Epstein now. And then they told me to like go through the door behind. And I walked through and I sat opposite Epstein on a sofa and he looked at my modeling book and he said, right, I think you're going to be perfect for Victoria's Secret. So I was just like so excited. I was like, oh my God, like, but the weird thing is I was the only girl at that casting. There was no one else there. Because usually at a modeling casting, they're usually like 100 girls, at least. But anyway, so then his office started phoning me. Leslie Graf, they arranged me a visa and I told them I don't have money, I can't afford a ticket or, anything. They said, no, they're going to pay for everything and they'll deduct all the expenses from my income once I'm there. So, of course, I completely believed it because, as I was doing the casting, Bill Clinton walked through the room as well. I mean, he witnessed the whole thing. That's the weird thing is when he walked into the other room where he was staying, which was like behind us, which was like an adjoining suite, I smelled like such a weird smell coming out of there. It was so weird, that smell. And, I've only ever
like
smelled
what
that
smell?
It was like a putrid smell. I smelled it there and I smelled it also at the governor of New Mexico's mansion. It smelled like, I thought it smelled like feces and urine, but my friend said it sounds more like the smell of like dead bodies or something from the smell it was. It was just like, and it was masked with cleaning chemicals. But I just smelled like this putrid smell as he opened the door when he walked behind me. And then also at the governor of New Mexico's mansion when Epstein took myself and another victim there, and those men came out and shook our hands and looked us up and down. When they went back in their room, I smelled that same smell. It was just like the most disgusting smell.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it was horrible. But at the time I didn't realize. I just thought, oh, maybe the hotel's got a problem with their sewage or something. You know what I mean? Because like because that time when Clinton walked into that room, I wasn't like, oh, this is a red flag. I was like, gosh, what's that weird smell? You know what I mean? I just thought. I didn't think it was
the
odd.
last thing the last thing you think of is that he's been cannibalizing or torturing someone, right? The last thing you think about is that. So of course we don't think
Yeah.
about that, so our mind doesn't go there.
Yeah, well, the thing is also this was 2002, we were far more naive back then. These days we know a lot more. We're able to see a lot more information. Back in the day, like all we relied on was the news outlets and ourselves and information from other people. And people who had experiences like this would have been too scared to even talk about them. And even if they did, it's hard to spread information just through telling people. It's easier to have a news outlet, and I suppose that's why you have it.
Exactly. How did Epstein get past your mum at this stage? Obviously, you're 4 years older now, or
Yeah.
6 years older. But obviously, your mum would have, and your parents would have still had to give consent. So, how did they get past your parents?
Well, my mum spoke to him for half an hour on the phone. And then he told my mum that he's also going to pay for me to study anything I want to. And he sees a lot of opportunity in me. Like, it was just like, he was just, because my mum was very interested in my education. So he said, well, apart from modeling, he will also like enroll me into any studying that I want to do. So my mum just thought, wow, it seemed like a really good opportunity. She spoke to him for half an hour. And also considering he was with Bill Clinton and all these people, it seemed so legitimate. Because, back in the day, we trusted people in positions of power. We had no idea that these presidents were so evil. We
Right.
didn't. Yeah, I mean, in
No,
South Africa, we were waking up to it. But, in America, we really thought America's the land of dreams. You know what I mean? We trusted them.
I want to just maybe while we're chatting, if you're okay with it, just maybe post one or two. We've got some pics here. Do you want me to post one or two modeling pics? And I know that there's some you took of the island as well, but we'll get there later. So just a couple of pics. This was Julia.
My mum took that photo.
Beautiful
that's
pics.
when they took me when I was. And that's after they took me. You know, I was young and innocent and dumb.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it almost makes me sad looking at this.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
it's like we have all these hopes and dreams as young people. But anyway, you know, I guess at the end of the day, if we're going to get these people out of power, then the hopes and dreams are better than they ever could have been, right?
Exactly.
You know, to create the world a better place I'd rather make the world a better place than be on a stupid billboard in New York any day.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So all that gets set up. You fly off to America. What happens then?
So when I land there, there's a man standing with my name on a board, you know, like a driver, and I was like, oh my god, like it made me feel like oh my god, like I feel like a celebrity. I was like, whoa, because you know I'd never even traveled alone. I'd never even left Africa. I'd never left South Africa. You know, I'd never traveled really. So and especially mine, so I was very like nervous, and then the driver drove me to the apartment 301 East 66th Street. And I walked in and I was just like, wow, like I was looking out the window in New York because this is my crazy place coming from Africa. It was like so different to anything I'd ever seen before. And then the phone rang after and I hadn't slept after this like 24-hour flight, you know. I was just like so like excited and felt all my dreams were coming true. You know, I've still got my diary from that year, and you can see all the things I packed. I packed like my pajamas, my towel, and my tweezers, and my books, and my art stuff. It's very boring, my packing, but it's like you could see that I really didn't think I was going to be whisked off by those people. Like, why would someone pack a towel if they're going to be taken off by a billionaire? You know, you don't need your own towel then. So anyway, the phone rang and it was Sarah Killen, and she said, pack your things, we're going to the Caribbean. So I assumed it was for like a modeling shoot. You know, I wasn't sure why they were taking me there, and I didn't have a phone. You know, I was like, but like, okay, this is weird. But I didn't really have much choice. So I couldn't contact my family or anything. So then the car came back and drove me to Teterboro Airport. And I got on the airplane, and Epstein was sitting in the front on the right-hand side. And then Sarah Killen and Andrea Mitrovich were on the left-hand side. And then Epstein like patted the chain like this next to him, like ding ding. It's like, come here, like ding ding. Like, you know, he was very sure of himself. You know, so I was nervous and I was like, so I went and I sat next to him. Well, he was actually on this side and I was on that side, sorry. You know, I'm just doing it like that because it's easier to explain. But yeah, he made me sit there next to him, and then as soon as the airplane took off, he started like touching me in between my legs, and I was just like, oh my god, they're gonna kill me. I completely freaked out. You know, every time I talk about this, it makes me like feel like I can't breathe properly. And you know, after I came back from there, I was taken to hospital with panic attacks. Sorry.
Just take a breath. You're good. Just take a breath. Take your time.
Thank you. It's so hard talking about it again and again. Do it. Sorry. Sorry.
You're okay.
Oh.
Take your time.
So then I thought, you know, these people are going to try to kill me. And I knew I just had to do whatever they wanted. So it just like broke me. Do you mind talking for a bit, Shanti? I'm sorry.
Okay, babe.
My name wasn't even on that flight log, so if I'd gone missing, no one would ever have known what happened to me. Sorry.
I think that is so. Just take a breath. I mean, obviously, we realize, I mean, I feel it in my chest right now, and I can definitely shed a tear for you. I can
you cut me
imagine.
out, please?
Okay, I will for a minute.
And then you just talk for a bit.
Okay, I'm just going to give Juliet a break. I think these situations are so tough to talk about. But, you know, I think what is so prevalent here for me, and it infuriates me to the point that I can just about spit spiders, because yes, and what we've, you know, and what we've actually seen from the beginning of the show is, which is why I ask about backgrounds and stuff, because I've been doing this for long enough now to realize that these guys don't make mega moves like these to for chicken feed. There was clearly something they wanted from her, or that she had, and building up her hopes. I mean, as a young girl, good grief, to be offered to become a Victoria's Secret model. What an opportunity. And speaking to her mom, gaslighting her mother. Oh gosh, vulnerable people, you know, these vulnerable people. And then, of course, hey, you know, we're just arriving in America. Pack your bag, we're going to Caribbean. I mean, wow, what an experience to go to the Caribbean. Epstein on a plane. And the minute that plane takes off, your shit starts. I don't have words for that. And I want to just say thank you to all of our viewers who are just amazingly supportive when it comes to supporting our guests. Not an easy thing at all. So I'm just going to, yeah, Ingrid, you're right. It's not just, you know, the hopes, the dreams that are built up in that few months, right? Her whole world changed. And then exactly within a nanosecond, when she had no power or control to leave, that's when the creep started. And literally thinking, I mean, you can imagine in that moment, realizing her powerlessness as his hand goes between her legs. And the first thought is, oh my God, they're going to kill me. So you really have to abide, because you're on your own in a strange country and now amongst very, very powerful people. That must be very, very scary. Anyway, I'm just going to check with Juliet if she's good.
I'm back. Sorry.
I'm good, Han.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, Shanti.
Sorry,
everyone.
babe.
It's really hard
Just
talking about that. And you know, especially like with the news yesterday about how they're not even going to be investigating this further, and how Virginia Gaffer and other victims have been found dead. You know, it's not nice living like this. Like, I'm too scared to even go out. Like, I definitely can't go out on my own. I've had like frightening incidents happen, and but anyway, sorry, let me not jump ahead. Let me just close this door. Sorry. My doggies wanted to come and say hi.
Well,
Sorry.
that's why they need to be in there with you. They need to be there with you. So you should let them in. Don't be sorry. No apologies anymore. You know, it's just, we're here for you. And just would like to support you in your story.
And
So,
just being on that island was like, it was really frightening being trapped around people like that, Like a lot of people like say like, oh, because they sent me home and they kept taking me back, but I was just shattered after all of it, And he told me that he worked with the CIA. He had my family's name on a list, and he told me that a girl who accused him of rape, he planted drugs in her apartment and had her sent to prison. That was because he took me from the island to Palm Beach, and then I was sent to New York, and then he sent me to have my teeth made whiter and my hair made blonde. Because they kept making it seem like they're gonna. But I was never sent for any modeling castings. I was only like called to his bedroom all the time. Sorry, I've got to catch my breath. Sorry, it gives me anxiety.
no, it's all good. It's all good. So,
Sorry.
from what I'm understanding or intuiting from you, is you get on the aeroplane with him, and as liftoff, he starts his shenanigans. And I can imagine that at that point you must freeze. There must be so much going on through your mind. What was going on in your mind at that time?
I thought, oh my God, my family are never going to see me again. I thought I'm going to be dead. They're never going to see me again. I got such a fright. And the horrible thing is that I came back a different person. So in fact, my family did never see me again as I was because of what they did.
So I can imagine that must have exactly you would have been completely frozen, and in this innocence you were completely not knowing what to expect, right? So you have this.
I just expected I was going to go there and become a model, like a proper model, and make money and help my family. Like I was just imagining I was going to buy my brothers both their own cars, and I had all these plans, like to help my family, because they made it out like I was going to become a top model, and then like I never was offered any modeling jobs, and all they did was try break me.
Who was on the airplane with Epstein that day? I mean, who were the people? There must have been people that were seeing.
Yeah, Sarah Killen and Andrea Metrovich. Sarah Killen worked with him for many years, and Andrea Metrovich apparently worked with the Clinton Foundation and also married a man who worked for the Clinton Foundation.
And when they saw this going on the airplane,
they laughed. Sorry.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Well, it's like they had their ways of normalizing abuse, And, I'd only ever had 2 boyfriends before that, so I was very, like, naive and just, yeah, it was, and then being taken there and being called to his room, and then more girls were brought to the island, and he was taking them to his room. It was just horrible. Like, how is anyone ever supposed to have a relationship or anything after that? Sorry. But I'm also crying again. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, babe.
Sorry. And then also seeing a bloody shape shift and actually,
I just want to, because I mean, at the end, I'm going to show some pics here of you just having, and I think these are all pics that you took on Epstein Island, right?
I found disposable cameras in the kitchen. Yeah, that's the chalet. They made me sleep in that chalet. That's the room where I was made to sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's also the place where that's the bed I was made to sleep in. Because, he only took us to his room in the day. So, we were taken there like 3 times a day each, and then we'd also been made to sleep in our own rooms like that. And it's very creepy, actually, when you look at it properly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and that's where there was the painting, the artwork of the walrus raping a girl. like the prehistoric creature.
Wow.
Because that's inside. You know the picture you just showed before? This is the inside of that room.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the outside. This is the inside now.
Yeah, that's the outside, and then that's the inside. You can see the door there. You know, it's the same door that walks in there from the side. If you're walking from the pool, you're walking in through the right.
Right. Okay, what's this here? Little view
That's
from your...
Because what happened is over the years of him taking me there, I became a bit more cheeky, and then I went and took photos. Like, oh my gosh, Kaka. I took photos around in the property when he wasn't there. The one day in New Mexico, he went out. So I took these photos, and he had all this expensive artworks there, like all sort of like Renaissance art. Like, you know, it was very, very weird. And that's the last time he took me there, was to New Mexico. And it's actually very creepy because I felt like I was only there for a few days, but I was actually there for longer than what I realized. I was there for almost 2 weeks. And that's where I had the memory waking up in the lab with people working on me. I also met Michael Bay, the movie producer there, the guy who made The Island and the Transformer movies and stuff. And, you know, he lies about being there because I didn't interview with this lady from the Daily Beast, and she contacted his people, and he said, no, he's never met Epstein. He's never been to Epstein's properties. Well, he's a liar. And let me tell you more. I was taken to Hollywood after all this, and it must probably be related to Epstein. I didn't realize at the time, but I saw that man, Michael Bay, there. And then he lied and said he was going to take me for a drink nearby, and he took me all the way to his house and tried to get me in his bed. And then I managed to get away from him, thank God. But he's actually a bad man. And if he wants to lie about being at Epstein, then he can talk more about how he took me back to his room and in his house and tried to force me into his bed. He can discuss that then if he wants to lie further. Because I'm not lying, and I'm willing to be lie detected on this. That man was there, and he made the movie The Island about human cloning. And, you know, the only reason that I started looking more into him is because he denied being there. Because when he denied being there, then I thought, why is this man lying? You know, and then I looked into it and I saw, you know, and I watched the movie The Island again. And it looks like the clones are all escaped from New Mexico. You know, if you look at in the movie. So then you realize that they've got underground bases there, because also I woke up in a lab there at the time when Michael Bay was there. I also saw like a UFO in the sky. I saw some very weird stuff there. Epstein also gave me a pelvic exam on a metal table before I was sent home. You know, it was just very obviously dodgy, like what they were doing. And also Epstein made me and the other girls watch the movie The Rock when he introduced us to Michael Bay, because he was like bragging and stuff. Then we were watching The Rock, and that's when I went outside and had a cigarette and saw the UFO on that same night when Michael Bay was there. So people can say what they like, but the thing is, I'm only telling people the truth of what happened to me. And as we know, there's a big cover-up going on here. They're lying. It's quite clear. I mean, look at what they've done to everyone's media. I mean, their lies are pretty pitiful, in fact.
Why did they make you watch the movie The Rock? What do you
Epstein,
think was the...
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, people. Oh my God, prisoners on an island. There we go. Alcatraz. You're right. I never realized that. You only just made me realize that now. But yeah,
Wow.
these people was like up to like, you know, and also the thing is, when I met Michael Bay and the scientists there, because you know they say that girls are being trafficked to other men, and I didn't see any girls being trafficked to other men, but I did meet Michael Bay and scientists there. But when I met them, I'd only meet them on the top of the island or the top of the property. I'd never see them again. You know, I'd meet them once and then they'd be staying there, but you'd never see the room they were staying in or anything, which also made me realize all these years later that they were likely staying underground. There's something else going on. Michael Bay made that movie, The Island. He could have been doing research for the movie, you know, because that's
absolutely.
I met him there in 2004, and the movie The Island with Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor came out in 2005, a movie about cloning. So what I realized is that he was maybe doing like research or something. that he was there at that time. And then also there's articles where Michael Bay, sorry, I just kicked my leg on the table. Where Michael Bay met with the CIA. And, Epstein told me he worked with the CIA. So why was Michael Bay also meeting with the CIA? Shows you that there's a lot more going on here, in the world, which is what we're all realizing. And that's why we're doing these interviews, to try and help and enlighten people. And,
Absolutely.
if they've got underground bases, God knows what they can get away with. Like the movie, the show Westworld, if they can clone people, or if they can steal people's eggs, which I think they were stealing our eggs, they can create their own world underground and do what they like to people. They do what they like to us up here, they'll do what they like to people in other places too.
I think they've been doing that for the longest time anyway. Let's just see.
Yeah.
I know we're running a little bit over an hour, so maybe we can just run through your picks and then we'll pick it up again next week.
Do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the photo I took of the island when we were in the helicopter. Because what would happen is we'd be fly from his plane in Teterboro Airport to like St. Bart's. Sorry, an airplane's actually flying above me now, saying bet on slots. Okay, sorry, gambling. Christ. I mean, how can they actually advertise things like that? I'm sorry. It makes me so angry. Gambling is bad. Everyone, don't do gambling, okay? Sorry. Oh my God. Where were we? Sorry. I just got angry. I don't like seeing people advertising gambling. It's not right.
I agree.
But
yeah.
And people ask me, did I ever see the temple there? And I know I didn't see the temple. And because I'm like, no, I never saw it. I thought maybe it was in an area where I just didn't see it, because, we weren't really allowed to just walk around on our own. But then I actually asked Grok, Grok lies and everything. But I know that temple was built after I was taken there. And apparently the temple was built around 2009 to 2013. So that's why you can't even see the temple on my photograph here, because in fact, actually, I can see exactly the point where the temple is now. I think it's on the corner here when you look at this photo. Because, it's great that you're putting these photos up, because I've got the negatives and but I don't look at them enough. But there's that's the island. It's very creepy, actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, and also
absolutely
dark. And for a billionaire, you'd expect them to have like a beautiful big palace on their island, but his house was very basic. It was almost like a cabin, like not a cabin. There was bedrooms, but it was very basic. So when they say that all these celebrities like Oprah and all these people went there, I don't understand where they were staying, because there were no rooms suitable for celebrities. Like you saw the room where I stayed, the chalet. It was very basic. That wasn't suitable for someone like Oprah,
Wow, how interesting what you're saying. That is so interesting. Maria, thank you so much for the super chat. Sorry, just thank you, Maria, for the super chat. Really appreciate you, hon. Wow.
Who's Maria? I love the name Maria. It's like Saint Maria.
Maria is one of the viewers that's just given us a super chat. That's amazing. Okay, here's another one coming up. And do you want to, sorry, are you done with the other one?
Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. That's Maria Farmer's painting on the right. And I recognized it because, do you know what? Maria Farmer says they've stolen her artwork. And that's one of her paintings. This is in New York. This is the model apartments, because you can see for a billionaire, again, this is a very basic setup. Like even look at the cables and the TV, it's all just thrown together. If one actually looks at it. I'm glad you're putting these up here for me to, because they are my photos, but it's traumatic, and I like to look at them and see them on a computer. One sees them sort of differently. Well, and also to have time to actually on it.
So this is not. So this here is not Epstein Island. This picture. This is actually one of the models' apartments.
Yeah,
in New York.
He owned a whole block. Yeah. He owned a whole block of apartments, and then he'd have a whole lot of different girls staying in all the different rooms there. So that was the room where they made me stay. And you see, this is after the island, because I had the camera by then. So, when I said they took me there initially and then I went back to the apartment and they sent me off to have my hair made blonde and my teeth made whiter. And then
Yeah.
they obviously took these photos, and that's Maria Farmer's painting on the right. And you know what? On one of these photos, I can also see they've got a book on Maxwell on one of them.
Wow. Wow. That's absolutely insane, really.
Yeah, that's East.
Okay,
That's 301 East 66th Street.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Not sure what that is there.
Oh, that's the paint. That's the artwork that was in the chalet. And the only reason I took a
Okay.
photo of that chalet was because there was a lizard climbing on the frame, as you can see. So I was like, oh my God, this lizard's on artwork, and I took a photo. But at the time I didn't I was so traumatized at the time, I didn't realize what a sort of creepy art. Well, I did realize it was creepy, but again, we were so naive back in the day. I was just like, oh, these millionaires have weird artworks. You know what I mean? You just think, oh, they've got sort of.
What is that? That's a woman laying.
Yeah, and
what is
that's
that thing climbing on her?
It's like a prehistoric walrus, and it's almost like what it's showing basically is like the scientific experiments, and then it's also showing the interbreeding, I suppose, of the
Chimeras.
dragon. And also the scary thing about this is it's not a painting; it's actually like a photograph.
What? That is just beyond disgusting.
And another weird thing is that they put this exact image on The Apprentice. You know that show by Trump? Trump made The Apprentice, like your file.
Yes.
They had this artwork
Yes.
on The Apprentice. It's the only other time I've seen it.
Wow.
And like she's got the ECG plugs and the satellite. Maybe the satellite symbols Wi-Fi. I've never thought about that, but it could it shows like broadcast, something. It's creepy. And the ice, it's very odd actually, the whole thing. That's his aeroplane.
Yeah, that's just the plane.
But he had two airplanes. And that's me under the water because the one camera took photos underwater. So I thought I'd test it out. But as you can see, I look pretty fucking freaked out. Sorry to swear.
Juliet, I wish I could give you a hug.
Thank you, Shanti. Those are the chalets again, because there were 4 chalets. And then each girl would be put in one chalet. There'd be a girl in each chalet. It's actually so creepy, isn't it? Why is each girl put in a chalet?
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a little tunnel.
4 chalets.
Maybe there's sorry, Shanti.
Did you say there were 4 chalets?
Yeah, there were 4 chalets around the pool.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
I'm not
that
sure what that is here.
That's me as a child with my gosling.
Oh, baby. Did you want to say anything else about the farm?
Yeah, well, I love animals and, but as I said, my parents got divorced when I was young, so. But I've got my own farm now with my dogs and cats. That's the island. Yeah. They've also got the American flag sticking up on the island.
Wow.
You see the big flag? Yeah, that was looking up from the island. That was looking up at like where his bedroom and the kitchen and stuff was. You see, this is what I'm saying. Like a billionaire on an island would have a bigger house than that. They wouldn't just have like a little house like that. You know what I mean?
It just feels to me like there's obviously a lot of nefarious things going on underneath. Because
Definitely.
as you say, like that's obviously inside somewhere as well, right?
That's me in New Mexico. And you can see I was just like my cheap clothes from Africa. Like, he wasn't like people think, oh, like he was buying us stuff. He didn't buy us stuff. We were just kept there like in servitude. You know, it wasn't like that. Like there was no alcohol around. I was never served any champagne around there or anything like that, for sure, you know. There was food provided, and it was not at all the sort of glamorous thing that a lot of people would imagine. You know,
Right.
and he was out this day, so I went and took some pictures quickly. And that's the swimming pool at New Mexico. It was an indoor swimming pool. More of his like weird artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one from earlier. Yeah. And actually, you know what's interesting? Who's going to light those candles? Yeah, and that's Palm Beach. He had like a gorilla at the end of this pool in Palm Beach. And I'm actually standing by the gorilla, but you can't really see me. And then I wrote my name in rose petals. I wrote
Juliette Rose. Lovely.
And look at this kind of artwork that was around there in New Mexico. It was all like very, very expensive like stuff. And that's the other thing, is that the properties didn't match each other. Like, they were very like, it wasn't like they were all owned by one person, because, you know, usually if one person owns something, it's going to have a similar sort of decor, similar sort of feel. But all these properties were very different. And so, which made me realize it was more like a club.
Right. You know, exactly.
These aren't Epstein's properties. These properties belong to the club. But Epstein's the name put on it.
Yeah.
And that's Sarah Kellen and Andrea Metrovich. Those are the girls who laughed at me on the airplane while he started abusing me. And why is that a crane that he had on the island?
Looks like a crane.
How could I not have realized at the time? He had a big trampoline in it. That's Palm Beach now, that one. Yeah, that one's Caribbean. That's Palm Beach. That's the view from his property in Palm Beach. He was on a river there. You know, I take photos of sunsets and stuff. And that's, again, the island. You know, you can see the island in the distance and the boat.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that there for today. I know we were going to chat for an hour today, and I think we've just
yeah, we can do a follow-up
over an hour.
Yeah. Questions anyone has. Sorry, I've got flu and sniffing.
No, absolutely appreciate you, and wow. I mean, I think
South Africans are sleuths. We're clever. Well, not me, but other South Africans are clever. I mean, look what Elon Musk's done. He's just going to start an American party. Good for him, you know. Trump's a liar. I think Trump screwed Elon Musk over.
Do you think that's what's happening? Gosh, I mean, I find it interesting, actually, that Trump and Elon had this big breakup not long after Trump actually exposed, and that was because of Elon actually exposed the South African farm murders. So, I mean, I think something weird. I mean, I don't know. This is just charading for me. There's all sorts of charading going on.
Mild autism, like my son. You know, I recognize them. I think he's got a form of autism, and he's a brilliant genius man, and he really wants to make the world better. But, you know, the problem is that people must never let ego overtake compassion, you know, because that's what happens. Sort of like, you know, and it's hard when someone's like the richest man in the world not to feel like, oh my God, like, but I don't think he's as bad. But who knows? Maybe he's worse. I mean, goddamn, nothing would surprise me anymore. But right now, I'm trusting him a lot more than I'm trusting Trump. Trump's a bloody liar. Trump's a salesman, is what he is. And a lot of people are angry with me, like, saying I'm anti-MAGA. Well, MAGA means sorcerer or witchcraft or whatever. So, you know, I don't mind good magic, but I don't like bad magic. I don't like hypnosis of the masses. You know, Trump and Obama both practice the Erickson technique. You know, hypnosis. You know, Andre, the hilarious hypnotist. Do you remember him?
Yeah, that South African guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amateur. Imagine what the professionals are capable of.
Yeah, of course. I know.
We're all
Just
that.
interesting, yeah, because although I have to say, Elon Musk was in the system with Jesse Zabota, so he's well known for his shenanigans in the system as well. He was one of her training partners when she grew up, and
I
that
don't
was
even.
with Jesse, Elon, one of the Rothschilds, and her training partner, who's Lucian Greaves.
Okay.
So
Well, I'm no
Elon
training
was in
program.
there.
Who are you? We're here, you know, trying to help people. And, you know, that's what I realized recently is that, you know, the leaders of our world, you know, the leaders should serve people. It shouldn't be the people serving the
Yeah,
leaders. You know, leaders
absolutely.
should quietly serve people.
And we
And
can
right
see
now,
we can see just how much the leaders are serving the people. They're not serving the people at all. They're serving their own agendas. That's for sure.
well, I guess we can
Anyway.
just get ready for the next storming of the Bastille. They can storm the island, storm New Mexico.
Right. Exactly.
Possible.
Oh, right. Juliet, thank you, honey, so much. I really,
Shanti,
really, really appreciate you sharing your story with us today. I know you're not feeling great. You got a touch of flu
I'm
going on.
sorry.
We are freezing here today, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's very cold in
But
Africa.
yeah, it is. It's chilly at the moment. But I want to just say thank you so much for sharing your story and for the pics you took on that island while you were there. And again,
Shanti.
I'm very sad that you had to go through that. Yes, babe.
Well, I'm still alive. And, you know, I didn't even want
Mhm.
to talk about all this because it just hurt me so badly, all of it. But I realized I have to speak for those who can no longer speak, the people that they've murdered, the people who they've traumatized. You know, we speak for those who have no voice. As hard as it is, you know.
Exactly.
And if we've all got to, everyone's got to stand up for human rights.
Indeed. Absolutely. You know, it is time that these depravities are exposed, and little bit by little bit, you know, every time we shine a light on something, more and
Yeah.
more will be exposed. So
And you know what I
thank you,
realized is
Juliet.
in Africa, we're used to a corrupt government in Africa. You know, the Americans are only just realizing it. So I feel sorry for a lot of them because they're naive. You know, I'm not being rude about
Probably
Americans.
true.
I'm just saying that,
Yeah,
you
it's
know, they
probably
really
true.
they believe in their system, and I think that's beautiful. But you know, we had to wake up a long time ago. Our lights went out. You know, we have water shortages. Like, you know, I think we South Africans are a bit more ahead in the times of corrupt governments.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
definitely one thing. We're way ahead of you all. We've got we win when it comes to corrupt leaders. We definitely own that one.
no, Shanti, where's my EFF at? I'm joking. No, no,
Exactly. My red hat, yeah. Wow.
you know, we
Well,
should wear
it's true,
like a.
you know, and we see
You know, my
exactly.
father was the chairman of the National Party,
Who's your
a chairman.
father?
Richard Bryant. Richard Bryant. Yeah, he was the chairman of the National Party. But I mean, this is before my parents got divorced and everything. But he's not really in politics. I don't know. Like, anyway, I don't know. I just don't trust anyone anymore. Just please don't
Exactly.
send me to Robben Island. Or
It's
don't take me to
exactly
Epstein
true.
Island. Oh, going there. Oh,
You're not going there again, don't worry. We'll make sure about that.
I'll go
Definitely
and
not going there again.
if I go there, I'll be going there with 200,000 people, and we're gonna get under there and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll only go there with food.
Exactly.
I'll never go alone ever again.
Sure. Thank you, Juliet. Appreciate your story, and we will do a follow-up possibly next week this time, but we will confirm with you guys once we do the follow-up with Juliet, where she shares more. But yeah, I think today was quite insightful, definitely, especially seeing the pictures. And, you know, it kind of gives you some type of reality, doesn't it? Because usually we're just seeing the media pictures. And now it's more. Very interesting. Thank you, everybody. And I want to just say thank you so much to all my beautiful wenches with wrenches. You all rock. Thank you so much. And then, of course, again, to...
Sorry. Witches with
Carry on.
bitches. The witches with bitches. Those who have dogs.
Witches with bitches. Or is it bitches with witches?
Bitches and witches. Well, I wanted to put a signboard on my door saying "Beware of bitches and witches," because you know I only use a joke. Naughty dogs, and my dogs are girls.
Exactly. Oh, lovely. Okay, guys, we will see you, and I will see you tomorrow. Double Trouble with Jessie, and as long as we're all connecting, hanging out together, we're good. And until then, take good care, everybody. God bless you all. And Juliet, is there anything you want to say, maybe just in closing?
Well, I just want to say the world's been hard at the moment, but we've got to keep strong. We've got to keep our heads up, and we've got to spread love and recognize the things in life that really make us happy. Because, you know, a lot of people chase things that don't make them happy. It's not about money, it's about love. And obviously everyone needs a bit of money for security. But mostly it's about love and special memories and the people that we love, and also just creating a better world. And it's a chain reaction. So just spread a little bit of love, as, you know, just a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, that's true. We can, I mean, I've just popped your thing, your little, what I call it, the banner up, the ticker. But is there, you can just tell people where they can get hold of you if they want to follow you.
Well, I'm just
doing
on
anything
X.
else.
Yeah, I think X is a good platform for more sort of free speech. It is, you know, monitored and blocked in certain ways, but it's a good way to sort of find more information. And, you know, and the thing is, when you read anything online, always make sure that it's true, you know, double check it, do some research, because a lot of stuff online that we're seeing these days is not necessarily true. So you just need to do proper research on anything. But X is a great platform.
Yeah. It allows a lot more freedom than what I think YouTube does. So
yeah, definitely.
Follow us there. Follow us on. Yeah. Sorry, babe. We obviously have a lag. Yeah. Is there just finish?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to finish off saying?
It's like TIA. This is Africa. It's not Telkom. It's Telkom.
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 Okay, guys. God bless you all. Keep well, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Up until then.